Film awards and criticism are a common thing. However, criticism from respected critics has merit in that it's generally knowledgeable of the history of films and based on set criterion rather than a gut reaction. It is to be said that some films are overrated, no matter how you look at them. In today's video, we have compiled a list of the top 10 overrated movies. Make sure you watch the video till the end, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Number 10, The Master, released in 2012. It is to be said that Paul Thomas Anderson is the most respectable filmmaker of his generation. No one can deny that. He is the Gen X genius who can do nothing wrong. However, many people were once true believers. But as Anderson's career went on, like his free-flowing human touch leaked away, and only to be replaced by a fixation on male monomaniacs that is unsettling and mostly baffling. Anderson's most insanely acclaimed head-scratcher is the film The Master, without a doubt. This is an undeniable tale that is slippery about tormented World War II. The discipline of a cracked religious huckster guru, the veteran Joaquin Phoenix, becomes the Philip Seymour Hoffman modeled on L. Ron Hubbard. As the movie goes, less is to add up. It comes to seem like that they were all tricks that Anderson is playing on you. Number 9. The Dark Knight, released in 2002. The Dark Knight is an astounding movie, but it does not deserve the title of the greatest movie ever, and it's not a type of what a superhero or action movie is. This movie gets all its praise due to its different, unique, and realistic take, and its flaws are just ignored. That does not automatically mean it's the greatest. Some people don't want to see a realistic, artsy movie. They want to see a great story with a great concept, creativity, emotion, and characters. The Dark Knight is probably the least imaginative movie ever. If you want a realistic movie, watch a comedy, drama, or romance. Don't watch a superhero movie then. To anyone who thinks that this was the best movie ever, first and foremost, read some Batman comics. And then rewatch Batman Begins. In my opinion, Batman Begins is way far better than The Dark Knight, and it is not even a close call for the latter sequels. Batman Begins had a perfect intro. Batman was scary, intimidating, powerful, had a darker feel, ninjas. Ra's al Ghul was a far better villain than The Dark Knight's Joker's perfect balance to the storyline. Number 8. Twilight, released in 2008. Twilight was getting the treatment it deserves. Not more, not less. This was thought to be a movie fulfilling to every teenage girl's desire in dreams. In fantasy, at least. But sarcasm aside, it's the best movie in terms of romance and fantasy, only if you gave it some credit. Harry Potter and other movies are totally outstanding, but in their own genre. Harry Potter isn't a romantic fantasy. Why compare them both? But though it's got to be a bit of a romance in the end, but it is there to tell who will marry who when they grow up. But the idea of such movies is not romance, whereas Twilight is just a romance novel. It's best in its own range when you start comparing it with others. Number 7. La La Land, released in 2016. 14 Oscar nominations set a standard that's tough to meet, and La La Land doesn't measure up. There's something deeply troubling about watching a young white guy spending 2+ hours waxing poetic about the traditional jazz movement in modern America. It's hard to get around that La La Land's biggest flaw is related to its awkward moments. That makes it more clear when you come to compare it to Damien's other hit films. It's worth to say that La La Land wasn't a bad movie, but it's just not 14 Oscar nominations good. And therein lies the crux of the controversy surrounding this film. It's a wonderful distraction from a rough world right now, but that's about where it ends in terms of depth and quality. Number 6. The Grand Budapest Hotel, released in 2014. Lovely and wistful, The Grand Budapest Hotel thrums with the dual dispositions of the sublime Golden Age director Ernst Lubitsch in the jam-packed chapter and verse of Stefan Zweig. In this calorie-rich and joyously effete film, Writer-director Wes Anderson will find his most exhaustive and exuberant picture to date. This movie's dialogue is splashy, deliberate, and stylized, which means it's unrealistic in many ways. But that's the posturing, enraptured, and pleasant point of it. Number 5. Titanic, released in 1997. Titanic would be an exceptional movie, but the movie was very well researched historically for the most part and beautifully filmed. But why did Cameron need to tack on a love story to one of the most powerful dramas in history? The Titanic tragedy, in itself, had everything, like bad luck, bad decisions, courage and cowardice, hubris, and injustice of class distinction. It did not need a pithy love story. Many people cried in this movie, but not over Jack and Rose. They cried over the elderly Strausses lying in their bed, embracing each other as they prepared to die. And they bawled outright when the Irish mother told her babies about the paradise of Tir na Nog, while the water rose in their doomed cabin. These were scenes that struck me as agonizingly real. Instead of trying to make the audience feel something for a guy and girl, Cameron should have used his formidable directing talents and true accounts of the tragedy to invoke cathartic despair for our humanity. Number 4. Inception, released in 2010. Some moviegoers consider this to be a masterclass, but equally enough, people consider the movie to be overrated. The characters are totally unbelievable. Cobb is supposed to be this expert in dream implants, but as he is, why does he suck at it so bad when we never see him succeed once? But Fisher Jr. is supposed to be the heir to a huge fortune. Why doesn't he act like one? Honestly, this guy walks through the movie like a cardboard cutout. The idea of going into people's dreaming heads to take things makes sense for some people, but even torture won't work to get them to tell you what you want to know. But at the same time, to put an idea in someone's mind seems far-fetched. And there was no motivation in this movie. We got all the mumbo-jumbo about dreaming and kicks to make us feel bamboozled. Number 3. Dunkirk, released in 2017. The story of Dunkirk itself was pretty lackluster. The method of storytelling was certainly intriguing. Tom Hardy's perspective was the most interesting, and he didn't even speak. Some people were completely uninterested in Harry Styles and the young men on the boat. The father and son on the boat could have been much more interesting than it was, but it just felt like ominous faces and tones staring into the abyss. But also, it wasn't fun or exciting, nor was it meant to be. It was just a bleak and interesting look at war. Number 2. Avatar, released in 2009. When James Cameron's Avatar was released at the end of 2009, audiences were smitten. People were very impressed with its high-tech 3D and its use of cutting-edge technology, and Avatar was awesome to look at. Avatar was spoken as one of the best films. This film director treats its story with exaggerated somberness, even though it is lifted from several previous sources. The movies whose only aim is to entertain doesn't always dazzle with their dialogue because it prevents Avatar from transcending its visual effects-driven blockbuster roots. Number 1. Frozen, released in 2013. Frozen is an animated film. This film was a massive box office and critical success. It had a great reception with both audiences and critics alike, and the film is treated as an animated masterpiece. But when you compare the entirety of the Frozen soundtrack with some of the better earlier Disney movies, you'll realize one thing, that there are a few very good songs here. The only time people get a glimpse into the characters' relationships with each other is when they're sharing dramatic scenes, not through Olaf's idiotic observations. But the other dramatic scenes are easily the best in Frozen. It's more than a little annoying to have tensions rise in a masterfully crafted scene, only for Olaf to dive in and souffle the whole thing. Frozen is overrated, but not only that, it's full of poor logic and outright contradictions. Well, that's it for today's video. Hit the like button if you liked it, and comment down below which part is your favorite. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so you never miss any